the end of the conference to be awarding to Isal members some of our awards for articles and contributions to the society over the last year in many cases, but also in one case over a period of a decade. And there are a number of people who will be presenting these awards with me. I will just quickly share my screen with you to show you. Here we go. So each year, Cliff Bone for the last few years has been making these marvelous trophies, which are a fantastic keepsake and a conversation starter. So thanks to him once again for the trophies. As you can see them, they're quite spectacular and handmade, and each is unique. Okay, so now let's move on to the awards themselves. There's a number of different awards, and it's my pleasure to introduce the first award, which is for the Outstanding Publication of 2020. This is an award to recognise the authors of a publication in any venue, so not just in the Artificial Life Journal, in any venue during the previous calendar year that shows significant potential to advance the field of artificial life. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to keep you in suspense. I just wanted to thank Lisa Soros, who organised all the committees this year, and thank her for getting together this information sheet for everybody with all the winners on the sheet and making sure that the committees ran smoothly. So thanks very much to Lisa for doing that this year. So back to the Outstanding Publication of 2020. There are two winners this year, joint winners. So the first winner, but in no particular order, winner one, is for the paper, The Surprising Creativity of Digital Evolution, a collection of anecdotes from the evolutionary computation and artificial life research communities, which was published in the Artificial Life Journal in 2020. The authors of that are Joel Lemon, Jeff Clune, Dusan Misovic, Chris Adami, Lee Altenberg, Julie Bolio, and Peter Bentley. The paper represents a substantial community effort to collate anecdotes and experimental results from across the artificial life community that exemplify the creativity of digital evolution. Individually, each anecdote is interesting, informative, and sometimes entertaining. Combined, however, these anecdotes make a strong argument for the value of digital evolution and artificial life approaches, showing that complex and often surprising dynamics are not limited to evolution in the natural world. Despite being accepted for publication just last year, after many years in the making by many researchers in our field, the paper already has 131 citations, demonstrating a large interest in these stories of unexpectedly creative evolutionary algorithms. In addition to the impact of the work within the field, the paper has also reached a wider audience as demonstrated by the media covering the work. So congratulations to all of those co-authors for their article. There's a second winner though for this prize. I can just see Dusan's just popped on there. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I would love to if we have a moment.
Just a minute, sure. Go ahead.
Sure, I'd love to thank all the authors and co-authors. By the way, you read part of them, and thank you for not reading all of them because there are 53 co-authors on this paper. So it was really a huge effort. So big thanks goes to all of them. Also, many other people sent their anecdotes, and there were some fantastic ones that are some of my favorites that never made it there. So Jeff and Joel, who helped put this effort together with me, couldn't be here because of time difference. So I'm also speaking for them. We also wanted to thank specifically Artificial Life Journal and Mark Bedeau, who helped with the editorial process. So we shopped this paper around quite a bit, and in the end, we realized that it really needs to be in our community journal, and that's its rightful place. And it was nice to see that the journal and the community are still open to unusual formats and weird papers. So thank you all. To me, the paper is really about the sense of wonder in evolution, that in digital evolution, that I think we all share. So I'm glad to see that it's sort of becoming a classic very, very quickly. Thank you. And thank you for the award to the Isal.
Thanks, Dusan. Yes, I should have added the et al at the end of the author list there. It's written and I just skipped it. Okay, and there's a second award winner for this same award, as I mentioned before. The second award goes to the paper entitled A Scalable Pipeline for Designing Reconfigurable Organisms. This one was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNAS, in 2020, last year. The authors are Sam Kriegman, Douglas Blackiston, Michael Levin, and Josh Bongard. Congratulations to those authors. Are any of those people here? No, not that I can see. In this paper, Kriegman et al. Introduced a method for designing the behavior of cellular organisms in simulation and then transferring designs to functional moving organisms composed of living frog cells. And this advance makes it possible to test many biological hypotheses about many topics, including the importance of shape in determining an organism's locomotive capabilities, the role of morphology in enabling robustness to damage, and the power of cells to self-organize into functional organisms throughout their growth cycle. While having profound implications for fields as disparate as soft robotics and medicine, the work's particular impact on the field of A-life due to the way the authors have completely blurred the boundary between robot and organism. So congratulations to those authors as well. Now we'll move on to the next award, which will be announced by Tim Taylor.
Okay, let me share my screen here. Just coming. There we go. So the next award is the Outstanding Publication of the Decade from 2006 to 2016. So the idea is that we have a rolling 10-year window, starting 15 years and going up to 5 years ago, so that these papers have had a chance to prove themselves, as it were, in the community. So this award is to recognize the authors of an influential paper in any venue from 5 to 15 years ago that has had a profound impact on the field of artificial life, as evidenced by follow-up research, citations, or attention brought to the field. And I am proud and excited to announce that the winner is Tom Froese and Tom Ziemke for their paper Inactive Artificial Intelligence, Investigating the Systemic Organization of Life and Mind, which appeared in the Artificial Intelligence Journal in 2009. So the Tom's paper really is an exemplar of artificial life research. It builds upon arguments from the philosophical literature and from the development of the field of enactive cognitive science to argue for a move from embodied AI towards a more sophisticated perspective of enactive AI. This enactive AI approach tackles really fundamental issues such as autonomous agency and sense making. In the paper, the authors map out exactly what would be entailed in the development of a fully enactive AI. Since its publication in 2009, the paper has been cited 342 times, according to Google Scholar, and it acts as a strong interdisciplinary bridge between the fields of A-life, AI, robotics, cognitive science, and philosophy. So unfortunately, Tom Froese was unable to join us this morning, but he has sent us this message, which I'll read out. Dear A-lifers, I truly appreciate the recognition you have bestowed on this article on enactive AI. I want to thank Tom Ziemke and his group for hosting me in Sweden for a delightful summer of intensive scholarly work. The theoretical problems of AI and A-life that we laid out together were inspired by years of potent discussions with my doctoral supervisor, Ezekiel De Paulo, and the Life and Mind Seminar Group at the University of Sussex. Fittingly for this award, those problems have indeed continued to challenge me in the decade following its publication, If anything, I now realize that they go much deeper than I suspected. I have always considered the A-Life community as my academic comfort zone, but the foundational concerns expressed in that article have sent me wandering in search of answers through an ever-increasing spiral of research fields. Perhaps one day I'll be able to report back to you on what I have learned on this journey. I am optimistic that the A-Life community itself is moving in the right direction to address the problem of meaning. A-Life today is more messy, more wet, more interactive, and most importantly, still as fun as always. I send you greetings from Okinawa, Tom Froese. And he also just wanted me to show you this photograph. Let me zoom in on that. So this was taken at in Sussex at around the time that he was writing this paper. And he says, I found this photo taken at Sussex around the time I wrote the article, which shows many of the people whose discussions contributed to my thinking. I'm on the far right there. And you will recognize several other prominent members of the A-Life community, including a current board member and one of this year's keynote speakers. So I'm sure many of you will be able to pick out those two and the many of the other people in that photo. Okay, so that's it. Thanks and congratulations again to Tom Froese and Tom Ziemke.
Okay, I'd like to welcome Eduardo.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes? All right. I have been given the honor to introduce the Outstanding Student Publication Award. And this is an award to recognize a student or postdoc for a paper or other publication that they published while they were a student. And this applies for any researcher who's still a student or within approximately 3 years of graduation. The award is judged by a committee organized by the International Society for Artificial Life Student Group, ERA, Emerging Researchers in A-Life. As his mentor, I am proud to present the award to Madhavan Kandadai for his paper titled Sources of Predictive Information in Dynamical Neural Networks. That work was published in Scientific Reports in 2020, last year. Madhavan did his, I'll say a few words about him. Madhavan did his PhD work in the Cognitive Science program at Indiana University under my supervision, as well as the advice and feedback from many others at IU, including people like Randy Beer, who you all know well. His PhD work focused on expanding modern information theoretic ideas to the understanding of brain-body environment systems. His dissertation title was Bits from Behaviors, Understanding Function Using Information in Embedded, Embodied, and Dynamical Neural Networks. And I would highly recommend people in this community in artificial life to take a look at it. His recent publication, for which he's getting the award, examined two competing hypotheses for how we can understand predictive information, which is a hot topic, by characterizing its source in these brain-body environment systems. In most work that deals with predictive information, the neural architectures are designed by hand to be predictive in one of several ways. Madhavan turned that around and identified the different competing hypotheses that were being discussed in the literature and evolved agents to do just behaviors in general and then try to analyze the underlying dynamics to try to understand where the information came from in evolved agents as opposed to hand-designed ones. And he found, a few of the things that he found was that using partial information decomposition and tracking the information dynamically in time was necessary to reveal the source of this predictive information. That the source where it came from could change dynamically in any one organism during behavior. So it wasn't always in one place. And somewhat counterintuitively, he found that all dynamical neural circuits, no matter even random ones, could have predictive information. So it's not. Okay, so more generally, Madhavan's work is an excellent demonstration of how we can take an often used but poorly defined concept in the literature like predictive information and flesh it out, some of what it means in the context of a of a concrete instantiation in the form of an A-life model. Crucially, the methodology that he proposes in that paper is applicable to data from any other model and living organisms, and extendable to information, to understanding the information flow in any kind of system. Marowan is now, I'm happy to report, an AI research scientist at a robotics company called Path Robotics, where he's developing algorithms to perform a variety of, to get robots to do a whole bunch of things. Marowan was my first graduate student that I mentored as a junior assistant professor. So I continue to be told that I was spoiled. So not only is Marowan an extremely talented and independent thinker, but he's also an absolute pleasure to work with. So I'm very happy to present this award to you, Marowan. Congrats on that great paper. I think he might be around. Not sure.
I'm not sure. I can't. If he's around, he can raise his hand, and then you cut.
Raise hand, and yeah, he can promote you. Yeah, thank you. Now we can speak.
Hey, hello. Thank you very much. I just want to thank Isal, and ERA for this award. It's such a great honor. And also a huge thanks to my advisor, Dr. Eduardo Izquierdo, and he's been like huge thanks for him to introducing me to this community, and also for his guidance and like mentorship throughout. We continue to collaborate on projects, and it's been great. Regarding this paper, I would really like to invite you all to take a look at it, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions or comments. And then I just feel this is my third A-Life conference, and it's been an amazing experience every single time. I feel really lucky to be part of this community, and I look forward to keep coming back. So again, once again, thank you very much. Thank you to Isal. Thank you, ERA.
Congratulations again. Okay, and we'll now move on to the Exceptional Service Award, which will be presented by Susan Stepney.
Hi. Yes, the Exceptional Service Award recognises an ISAL member who has provided truly exceptional service to the field of artificial life by, for example, helping to organise the artificial life community, or developing valuable resources, or facilitating administration of ISAL. And it's my great pleasure to announce the winners of the 2020 Exceptional Service Award as Juniper Lovato and Laurent Herbert Dufresne. As many of you will know, Juniper and Laurent did a phenomenal job in organising and running A-Life 2020 virtually. They overcame the challenge of quickly converting the conference, which was originally planned for an in-person format, into a virtual one in a very short period of time. Not only that, they came up with so many interesting, highly creative activities, and they seamlessly integrated them into the conference programme. This made it one of the most well-organised, most memorable A-Life conferences ever, and memorable for a good reason. A-Life 2020 clearly set a really high bar for the community to follow. And in addition, they later released the lessons that learned and tips for organising virtual conferences to the public to help other people organise their own conferences. For all these reasons, they're very deserving winners of the ISAL Exceptional Service Award. So congratulations to Juniper and Laurent.
Thanks, Susan. Either of them here, Juniper or Laurent?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes, we can now. Yep.
Great. Thank you so much. This is an incredible honor. Being involved in the A-Life community has been so much fun and given us a really great platform to just sort of get out all of our weird creativity. So this has been just a total blast to be a part of this community. And thank you so much. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
And this being a service award, I just want to stress thank you to all the Society for Artificial Life and to the organizers of A-Life 2021. It's been amazing seeing all the work that's been done to adapt the society during the pandemic and adapt the conference, and is just wonderful. And we're excited for 2022 as well. And I just want to quickly say to the junior members of the newer members of the community, we're also kind of new. We joined this community maybe 3 years ago, and this is a academic group that's weird enough to kind of feel like a family. So it's very rewarding to contribute to it, and it's a group weird enough to listen to their newer members and adapt. So it's rewarding and just great to be a part of this team. So thank you.
Thanks both for your hard work. It's funny to be described constantly as weird as a community, but I have to concur in a perfectly good way, in an excellent way, to be honest. So the next award, we will move on to the award for education and outreach, which will be presented by Lana, if she's online there.
I'm here. Hello.
Hello. Go ahead, Lana.
So it's a great pleasure for me to present the Education and Outreach Award. This award recognizes the author of an outstanding project that either teaches about a life or uses a life techniques to teach about another topic. And the 2021 Education and Outreach Award goes to Luis Daman. So Luis combines digital evolution and laboratory experiments to study coevolutionary dynamics. Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, he has been active in communicating the science of the coevolution of host and pathogen using a combination of social media and interactive life simulations that you can find at the infectiousmatter.com website. So the website is infectiousmatter.com. Each of the simulations on the website has a blog post that explains a concept related to the simulation, and each post is written in the context of COVID-19. You can change the simulation's parameters to build intuition for the topic. And maybe most importantly, the software for the website is also open source and freely available on GitHub. Luis' science communication is a great example of how members of the A-Life community can use their expertise to communicate important information to the public. Congratulations, Luis. Are you here? Maybe not.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yes, he's.
Oh, he is? Okay. Go ahead, Louis.
Hey, sorry, that took a second there. Thank you, Lana. Thanks to the community for thinking this work was worth recognizing, and appreciate the awards committee as well. And there's definitely a ton of people that deserve thanks, but I think my wife sort of rises to the top just for reading through these posts many times and making sure I wasn't becoming too much of an academic in each of them. And I'll just say that my biggest hope for this is that the outreach component of this tool becomes obsolete in the very near future, fingers crossed, but we get to keep using these web-based simulations to have as much fun as we can. Thank you again.
Thank you and congratulations. So the next award is the award for a distinguished early career investigator, and that will be presented by me. So this one's to recognize an individual who's early in their career, typically pre-tenure, but has already made important contributions to the field of artificial life. Who could it be? The suspense and the drum roll begin. The winner this year is Yitka, who is, of course, well known to you for her spectacular organization of the conference and the book. So Yitka's a strong contributor to the A-Life domain, both technically and to the community. So this year, as you can see, she's done a fantastic job of organizing a specially themed A-Life conference building on the 100th anniversary of the word robot. She put together a fabulous book, which is soon to be released in, actually in English as well as in Czech, of essays by a wide range of scientists on the play Are You Are. And she's working hard behind the scenes to build links and bridges across the artificial life community. On the technical side, she's prominent in chemical robotics with exciting ways to apply to artificial life. She applies minimal cognition principles to chemical robots, and her work has led to some creative droplet experiments, which have really revitalized the wet A-Life tradition. Congratulations, Zitka. And I know you're here. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Alan, for these nice words, and thank you for this award. I am really honored to get this award, but I feel that this award is for research and science, and now I have spent a lot of time by organizing of this conference and collecting the essays for the Robot 100 book. So for me, this is like a challenge to go back to the lab and to publish more papers and finish works which were not published yet. And I'm really glad to be awarded in this community of A-lifers, because to do A-life research is not easy for people, as we have seen in the motivation letters from students, because at this conference we gave several student scholarships and we asked students to send us the motivation letters. And when I read them, for me it was very touching, because some words were very similar to my feelings, that if the students or young researchers, they don't have the support from supervisors or heads of the departments, it's very difficult to do A-life research, because still in some communities it is not so accepted. So I am really happy that it is not my case now, because my ex-supervisor of the PhD thesis and now head of our department, František Štěpánek, he supports me. So big thank to him that I am able to still do research in this A-life field, and I'm not pushed to go back to chemical engineering and more traditional things. And also I am very happy to get this award today, because today it would be the birthday day of my master thesis supervisor, but she's not here with us already 13 or 15 years. So it's also, she would be proud of me, I think. Yeah. So thank you, and thank you all for the support and motivation to continue in this direction. Thank you.
Congratulations, Jitka, and we look forward to seeing what you'll come up with in the years ahead. So the next award, I should say, is the award for lifetime achievement, and that will be presented by Olaf.
Thank you. Hi. So it's my great pleasure to present the Lifetime Achievement Award to recognize an individual who has made profound contributions to the field of artificial life, influencing the work of many others and helping to shape the state of the art. And the winner is my mentor and dear friend, Takashi Ikegami. Takashi has made a sustained contribution to the A-life community through an excellent, very creative body of very diverse work and foundational contributions. He's a leader of and committed to the A-life community, where he brought and trained many researchers, including myself, Lana and others, to the field. He has organized so many events to consolidate the community and advance its self-awareness. And he has delivered repeated remarkable plenaries in high-profile, high-visibility venues, advocating the importance of A-life to other communities. Takashi will also give a Lifetime Achievement Award talk right after, so if you stick around after this, you'll be able to hear him. And Takashi, would you like to say a couple of words?
Yes. Thank you very much for this award. Of course, this one is it's too much for me, and then simply because I'm getting old, right? But I'm very happy to get this award, and then I really thanks to so many of my friends, from my team members, and well, there are many friends like Mark Bedell, Jordan Plug, Norman Parker, Martin Handek, and all the other my friends and colleagues helped me to get this award. And thank you very much, especially for my team love members. It's my great pleasure to accept this one.
Thanks, Takashi. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, that would normally bring us to the end of the awards, except this year, after discussions with Mark Beddoe, Susan Stepney, and myself at our regular Artificial Life Journal editorial meetings, we had an idea at one of these meetings for an award that was inspired by a paper review that we received from one of the journal's reviewers that was so far beyond the regular call of duty that we thought it really warranted an award. And so we've decided, since receiving that award, to introduce a new award, which we hope to award every year, for the journal reviewer who's provided the most outstanding review of the previous year. I can't say very much about what that review was, because if I were to do that, of course, I would reveal which article was being reviewed, and that would destroy the anonymity of the review process at the journal, which with the current method that we use for reviews needs to be remaining intact. But I can tell you who the winner of the award is, and the winner this year is Inman Harvey. So thanks kindly, Inman, for your exceptional contribution, actually multiple contributions to the field. But in particular, in this instance, thanks kindly for your exceptional reviews. They're really above and beyond the call of duty, as I said earlier. Is Inman here? I'm not sure. I haven't actually come across him on the conference yet. Is Inman around? Doesn't sound like it. Okay, well, I shall pass that congratulations on to him via email at a later point. But that does bring us to the end of the awards ceremony. Once again, congratulations to all of the award winners. And once again, also, I'd like to thank Lisa Soros for working with the committees, for all the committee chairs and committee members, and also in particular for all of you who submitted nominations for these different awards. Obviously, this is an important part of giving recognition to the researchers in artificial life. And we feel that it's a key part of what makes this community so, well, so weird. No, not just so weird, so much fun and such a pleasure to work with. So congratulations once again. Thanks for your attendance at the ceremony. And maybe in the future, I look forward to seeing you all face to face. Over to you, Yitka.
Yeah, so thank you, Alan, for sharing of this. And now maybe Olaf can share the session with Takashi's Lifetime Achievement Award talk.
All right. Are we starting now? Because it's programmed to start in 14 minutes. Should we take a break?
Yeah, so maybe, yeah, that's right. That if someone comes to, if it is no problem for you, let's start at the 11 as it is scheduled in the program. Yeah.
Good.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
see you in
few minutes, and then we will have the talk by Takashi. Thank you, Takashi, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah,
thank you,
yeah. It is such a shame that you are not able to have this talk in Prague in some lecture hall with full audience, and it is only online talk again. Yeah.
Oh,
I
you very
hope
much.
to
Maybe
host
next year.
all of
Maybe
you
right.
in Prague in the future.
right, let me check if Yitka is around. And otherwise we can, I guess, already, yeah, exactly, try it out. Okay, looks good. Yitka, are we a go? You're muted, but yeah, it's probably a yes.
11 a.m. So yes.
Sounds good. All right. Yeah. So it's a real pleasure to introduce this talk by my mentor and friend Takashi Ikegami, also known as Artificial Life Larger Than Biological Life on Twitter and other places. He's of course a professor here at the University of Tokyo, where his great lab is a very unconventional kind of place, very creative and noisy and self-organized chaos kind of place. Very nice environment and really homely to me, and real sense of family there, and also hard work in the pursuit of science, art, music, philosophy, and artificial life, and more. He's the organizer and leader of so much happening in A Life, especially here in Japan. And every discussion with him, if you know him, is a real kind of parkour, and every talk he has been giving has been very insightful, and he's about to give one more. All right, Takashi.
Yes.
Yeah, off you
Yep.
go.
Yeah, thank you very much for this big award, and I'm very happy. I hope it doesn't mean I have to retire. I really want to, spend more time, playing around with artificial life and people. So can I start now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yes. So I usually I don't want it to look back. So I always talk about my foreground, not my background. But only for this time, I try to looking back a little bit and try to explain what I have been doing for the last 30 years. So when I was when I came to the graduate school, there was the late 1980, and then there was a three big concepts. One is the chaos. The other one was a hierarchical world view, because I was studying spin glass models in physics department. So that was my first thing that I studied. Then jumping among attractors, which was pretty much stimulated by the Stuart Kaufman's early work back in 1960s. So these three concepts, hierarchical structures, jumping around attractors, and chaos, is where I came to the graduate course, and I found that was very, very popular that time. So that my first work, so I pick up a few of my early works, and then one of the work that I did for the first time with Kuni Kaneko is that genetic fusion, that I try to understand how the genes can evolve. So when you have one-dimensional genes and combine together, and finally sometimes they show booming up by combining together, which we call genetic fusions. So that was my first work, which was published in Physical Review Letters, and this might work in the real biological systems. Then I also studied with Kuni about homeochaos. The homeochaos is the interesting theoretical model that mutation, there's always genes and mutations, but mutation itself is usually fixed. So, but the mutation rate can be encoded in the genes. So what happens if the mutation can be evolving? So this is called mutation evolution model. So you can see this on the left-hand side, this is a rugged landscape, and then on the top of those mountains, there is a high mutation rate regions. And then you can see that mutation rate is distributed among genes. And there's a hot spot, there's a fixed non-changing gene regions, and all this kind of stuff was controlled by very weak chaos. So it's a large degrees of freedom, but the weak chaos can control this gene ecosystem. So that was the two of my first work that I studied. Then I used genetic fusions ideas to the evolution of IPD games, iterated prisoners genome game. And so starting from, so I used a tree encoding schema. So starting from tit for tat, then it's fusing together to make another strategy, and then evolving to a more complex ones. Then I saw in this evolution that I saw pancake and sudden increasing the complexity and all this kind of interesting stuff. Like for example, like on the upper figure that you can see how the evolution is going on. So it's a population evolutions of different strategies. So the trees are branchings and combined together to make a more complex trees. And if you suppress genetic fusion, so that you can see on the in below that the evolution is not it's open-ended, but it's more suppressed, so that the quasi-periodic behavior emerges. So this was something that I found was interesting. Then I went to I want to do more complex modeling, which is machines and tapes. Was published in 1995, and this one was the motivation of my work was how this hypercycle network emerges from scratch. Right, so we're starting from self-reproducing machines and tapes. So the machine, for example, this one is machine reads the tape, and then the tape is encoding machines 1 or 2, so that this pair, tape 1 and machine 1 or 2, is very happy pair, right? Because machine reads the tape, and then it's tape. This machine is coming out from tape 1. Then machine is going back to read the tape. So this is very happy. However, if there is a mutation rate, then there's a side reaction chain emerges. This is the B, and this is C, and then there is a critical mutation rate where the eigen's information crisis happens. But for this system, it goes to some crazy network is emerging. This complex tapes. So this is a transition from complete perfect self-replication to a mutual replication network that emerges after critical mutation rates. So this is what happens after the high mutation rates. So if you suppress the mutation rates, this one never goes back to the self-replicating simple ones, but this complex network is somehow very robust, and that exists. So I was very happy with this paper, and this paper is because like a Carsten Nicolai or other artists, sound artists especially, somehow read this paper and then came to me and, hey, this is interesting, so we have to do some noise music. That's why, good and bad, that paper changes my life. Okay. Then in 1998, I used recurrent neural network to couple dynamical recognizers. Dynamical recognizers is borrowed from Jordan Plack's famous paper. Then I was just wondering, what happens if each player we're going to make a model of others, and the other one is also making a model of myself, and playing the prisoner dilemma game, and what happens is the idea. And this Z space in recurrent neural network is corresponding to finite state machine. For example, if you have a tit for tat, then you have a nice representation of this tit for tat in the Z space, and then some more complex finite state machine can be also represented by this nice cloud-like representation in the Z space of the recurrent neural network. So at this time, we didn't have a deep learning, so that's why this one was recurrent neural network. Then, when this is player 1, this is player 2, and the player 1's model of player 2, and this is a player 2's model of player 1. And by playing each other and predicting what other is going to do in the next 10 steps, then this model becomes complex. And then usually the other one becomes finite set machines, and the other one's model becomes more complex. Then it's switching from one to the other. So it's the complexity emerges in turn. That's what I thought was interesting. And then there's several works that I did with this framework. But then I was also interested in this autopoietic cells, because one of my motivation of studying artificial life was, of course, to try to understand what's the fundamental principle. And then I thought autopoiesis is one of this fundamental principle that I really have to understand, right? As you may know that this is the one of the papers which Francisco and then Maturana wrote with Uribe, published in Biosystems, I think it's 1974 or something, and which this one was simulated by Keisuke Suzuki, one of my colleagues. And then you can see this is nicely generating boundary, and because of this boundary that you can concentrate those substrate within a cell, so that you can maintain this boundary, so that you can maintain these chemical reactions. So the reactions and boundary is, co-evolving together and co-maintaining together. That's one of the basis of autopoietic theory, right? And then me and Keisuke try to evolve this idea, and then not only the homogeneous membrane particles, but there's a different types of particles can be the component of this membrane, so that the substrate can only through these channels, then the cell can move around. So the self-movement idea came here, right? So I thought, okay, the cell can move so that the sensor emerges. The sensor emerges so that the cell can move. So self-movement and sensor emergence is sort of complementary to each other. So that's is led to the idea of self-replicating self-moving droplet that I studied with Martin later on. But at this time, early 2000, there was a artificial life conference, which I was I organized with Jordan Plack in Boston. It was very nice, very interesting conference. Then we have a 4 or 5 presentation of this conference, which is always, with a small robot in a computer, it's moving around, do something interesting. And one of the examples is that this one is I did with Gentaro Morimoto. This is dynamical categorizers, which this little creature has a neural network inside, and he touches the block, and if thinks this one is a square, then he try to fill out the square. But if it's a triangle, then he just skip it. So there's no such things that is like the representation of a triangle and square. But once he dynamically touches it, that he can distinguish between squares and triangles. So that's where embodied cognition came in, and I was interested in how the perception is coupling with self-movement, embodiment, and this kind of thing. And then also I did with turn taking with Hiro Izuka. He's now in Hokkaido. He's been working with Ezekiel Di Paolo. Turn taking is that, whether there are 2 agents, taking turns each other, right? So I've been evolving neural network inside the agents, and how this turn taking emerges, for many generations. So we did use genetic algorithm to do this. And in the 7th generations, the red players, blue players taking turns and making interesting patterns. But still, this is weak in a sense that those players cannot take turns with many unknown players. But in the later generations, that you can have more complex turn takers. This one is very universal turn takers, which seems very unstable, but still they can take a turn with so many different type of players. So we thought it was very interesting. So the evolution of turn taking is gives you the creativity. So this one led to the idea that I'm using Android to show how the creativity emerges from mutual cooperation, mutual imitation games. Now, so I did the embodied chaotic itinerancy. So this the agent with spike neurons inside, then it's moving around by touching something. It spontaneously changes its internal state, then moves around, sometimes spontaneously changes its internal state, then touching differently so that the internal state of the agent is spontaneously switching from one to the other. So that I was playing around with these agents. It's interesting because it's from outside, it doesn't change it, but internally the state changes. And those states are not I have prepared, but this one is self-organized from the random neural network. And also I did this DAISY model. This agent is covered with DAISY, which Jim Dyke, he was studying at this time. So I covered my agent with daisies, black and white. And then by controlling those daisy, the population of daisies, this agent can generate sensors. Sensors means the clusters of daisies so that they can go to the warm place. But if it's too warm, then it's trying to get out from this warm place and then go to another place. And this behavior was interesting in a sense that sensors, again, the sensors is generated from the self-movement, not, they are not separated from each other. Self-movement and sensors are complementary to each other. That was the idea behind these simulations. And again, I revisited autopoietic cells because we try to make we try to publish papers in theoretical biology, but this one was a 2D model, right? 2D model, and then with the reaction diffusion equations. And but the reviewer says they also seem to imply their discussion that the model could be applied directly to the early prebiotic environment. Yet this obscures the basic fact that these are the 2D simulations. There is no reason in principle to assume that the same phenomena of membrane clustering would carry over to 3D. Nobody has shown this to the case. And also would really make an original contribution is they could in fact produce such simulations and confirm there is no basic flaws. In the conclusion concerning considering an added dimension, that's what he says. And then for these reasons, I would recommend the paper is rejected in the present form. The authors could be encouraged to submit the revised version taking into account the above remarks I did. This could be a 3D simulation of the systems, right? So that was signed by Francisco Barrera. That afterwards, I noticed that okay, if Francisco says so, that we have to do this, but I couldn't do this in early 2000. But then, when one of my students, Dread Medina, he came from Australia, that he did these simulations. It's the same reaction diffusion equations, but you can see how this regions is generated, and then the membranes self-organized, and within the membranes there is some reactions going on. So that it's one of the early, I think it's one of the first 3D model, which is it's a more autopoietic property in it. Okay, so these are the early my works in artificial life. Then I was invited by Seth Barrock to the Artificial Life Conference. It was 2008. I thought 2008 or 7. Then there was was Artificial Life Conference, and I was honored to give a keynote there. It was my first keynote in Artificial Life Conference. Then the title of this my talk was "Artificial Life is Dead," and well, so I have to stop my work because I already said artificial life is dead, right, in 2007. But this one was very paradoxical. There was a bunch of discussions going on. but I said artificial life is dead because they stop, simulating those like toy stupid models, right? And then they start to discuss more complex and theories and theoretical physics and all these things without doing computer simulations. But I thought, artificial life in its heart is exploring nature with a simple toy models. That's what I thought was the principle of artificial life. But if you stop doing it, and if you want to, if you're looking for the universality classes in artificial life creatures, then I think the spirit of artificial life is dead. That's what I thought back in 2007. Then my talk in this in my keynote that I tried to draw the history of artificial life, which is starting from Greywater, Gregory Bateson, Alan Turing, and von Neumann. And there's 4 different branches. I thought it was very nice and the characteristics of artificial life studies. And from the Greywater, this is the robot evolution. Basically it's evolutionary robot branch. And this is the philosophy. And this is the reaction diffusion equation. And this is the game of life kind of branch, right? And this is the digital world, and this is the chemicals, and this is philosophy, and this is robot. Up to 2008. But after 2008, I think that synthetic biology becomes very popular. And those people studying synthetic biology went out from artificial life to their own field. And for the robot, so for example, like a Boston Dynamics is so strong and so attractive that the people think, oh my God, this one is like a lifelike, So some people stop, doing making robots because this robot, I don't know whether I haven't seen the real Boston Dynamics by my eyes, but this looks very nice, very cute, very strong. But I don't. Maybe the principle of Boston Dynamics is the more classic controlling systems. And then also in the philosophy, there's a speculative realism, which I told yesterday. It's studied by, for example, like Meyers and other people. That this realism is very interesting, and I thought it's going to be the philosophy of artificial life in the future. And then also from the digital, this line of the game of life, the Gachis cell automata can be the thing that we have to do. So that was this. I didn't talk about these 4 new things at 2008, of course, but that's what I explained in this talk. So, but what happened in 2008? And I looked back 2008. I found it's very revolutionary time. 2008 was the real, evolution, because Ray says singularity happened in 2045, but I thought singularity was already happened in 2008, and 2008 is a revolutionary year. I was so much impressed at that time. It was started from the Rubik cube, was done by Thomas Rokicki, and he said, why don't you just check all these combinations? And then the combination is about comparing with the Avogadro number. It's Avogadro number divided by 10,000. So that's the number of the possible combinations of the Rubik cube. So it can be possible that you can make a big table and see how many numbers, how many steps that do we need to go to the solution, and that turned out to be 20. So that was published in 2000. That was reported in 2009. Also, it was officially published in 2013, but it's 2009 that I found them in the website. Also, the speech form that I think everybody knows it, so that I don't have to explain this. But Deb Roy started putting so many sensors, 10 10 visual sensors and 13 audio sensors in the room. And he recorded 3 years of his own son and see how the developmental process is taking off. And people are criticizing because this one is n equal to 1. However, this massive observation of human baby gives you a very strong new theory of developmental theory, I think. And 2008 also there's a blockchain came out, was said that was by Nakamoto gave this theory, and then now you know that this Bitcoin is based on this theory. And then also this Hinton's deep learning came out in 2007, I think the paper was, and then 2012 there was a big boom came out because the Google used deep learning to find out the cat is spontaneously emerges on the top layers of the deep learning stuff. So then there was the Barabashi's book called Burst, that he said how nakedness in the face of increasing penetrating digital technology is creating immense research that in size, complexity, and detail surpasses everything that science has ever come before. Yes, so from this 2008, toy models lose his power, and the storytelling and narrative that we have been working with is dead, I must say. And then from 2008, we are in a different scientific paradigm, which is what I call massive data flow. So that's what I thought was very, very interesting area. So that I forgot in ECO 2013 or something that I started workshop called massive data flow, and then the massive data flow is the concept. It's not only the big data, but the big data is about the volume, velocity, and the variety. But the massive data flow system is exhibit vitality, so that if you have a huge scale systems, maybe life emerges from there, right? If we have only 10,000 or something, we cannot see the life in there, but we have several billion, then maybe the life emerges spontaneously. That's a very simple idea, but that's what I thought, because the big data and then massive data flow is the key issue after 2008. So I have to explain that, the simple story that before 2008, in the early artificial life, nonlinear system is the key issue, right? The nonlinear system is, well, simply speaking, there's a strange attractors that you can understand, very neat pictures in the phase space that can explain something that we cannot explain simply by the linear systems. So there, the intelligence is pattern generators. The pattern generating patterns is a source of intelligence. And then we can have a poor inputs, but we can have a rich, complex language, which is Chomsky's grammar. So these are the ideas associated with the nonlinear systems with a small degrees of freedom. However, I was a bit afraid that with the huge degrees of freedom, maybe the linear system can solve the problem, or maybe they have the almost same problem, same capability of solving problems. So the linear system with large degrees of freedom, the Google used the MapReduce, Google Cat, PageRank. These are the sort of linear systems, but the huge degrees of freedom. And then here the intelligence is just a large database, and it's a rich input. You need a rich input, but they can speak language. And as you can see, the GPT-3 is what this linear system with the large degrees of freedom shows us. So that's what that changed my mind. And then, but in between 2008, crossing 2008, I met Martin Hanswick, and I told him that we need self-moving systems, not only in a computer, but we have to do chemical reactions. I need something that self-moving things. So we started to work on the real chemicals, because he's a chemist. He's a very good chemist. So we tried to think about how to do this, and then found this interesting chemical reactions with the oric anhydride with a pH larger than 11, that you can see this droplet with it's about 100 micrometers, And this guy is simply spontaneous moving around. We're very surprised. And hey, maybe a self-movement can explain the origin of life or something. And this is what I found in the microscope when I was looking microscope. This is very messy experiment that I did because I put pH 11 and also pH 12 during the experiment. But then I found that this guy was organized. But then I found so many swarms of droplets is interacting with each other, and especially this one was self-replicated. So this one goes this way, and this one goes the other way. That one was okay. This one is great. This is the game of life in a chemical space, which I started. This gliders is crashing each other, and then but these gliders are too fragile. But the droplet in the real world, the chemical gliders are more stable than this game of life, right? And then, but also we did massive computer simulations, and then we found the oil droplet in computer simulations, which Navier-Stokes equations, chemical reactions, and boundary formations, so that in very extreme conditions that you can see so many vortices is organized within a droplet, and then that drives droplet to move around in some chaotic ways. And I found it quite interesting. We need this massive computer simulations or this chemical experiment in the real world. And nicely, this chemical reaction experiment that you can see, some of the initial configurations that the droplet cannot move, but some of the droplet can move. So the distance from the initial configuration. So this the micro something in the initial configuration determines whether the droplet can move or move not, or don't move. And sometimes this computer framework crashes, and then droplet is losing its internal structures. But this one is a computer was also interesting. I cannot go into the detail, but that's what I found. And then with Nathaniel and then also Tom Flores, that we did droplet experiments with much more simple with the Gray-Scott model. As you know, that the Gray-Scott model is that you can make these droplet with the two components, right? And these droplets can self-reproducing and making many droplets, right? That you can see 2 goes to 4, 4 goes to 8, 8 goes to 16. So we added third components, and then the third components is interesting. This is from Nathaniel's computer simulations. That that if you are coupling with this red third components, then as you can see, the droplets start to move around. So the third component is important for the droplets to self-move and then interacting with each other. And finally, it's interestingly that initially the droplets without moving can sustain. However, it is overtaken by these self-moving droplets. That was an interesting chemical experiment, and we still cannot do this in the real chemical experiments. So so that's what I did. I still think how to go beyond this, but we are sort of stuck. But then we switched to the large-scale swarm models because this is interesting. But this one is around 250 something. The swarms moving in it's a Boyd model, right? So we use the Newtonian equations for the Boyd model and see how this one is going on, right? But then of course, because of the massive data flow, that I have to think what happens if we increase the numbers of the Boyds of the individuals. So when I'm going up from to the 70 to the 12s, then to 1016 to 138, then next, and then to the 19th. Then you can see the different types of the swarms that emerges. So the scale matters, right? The quantity changes into quality difference. That's what I found. So don't think about changing parameters, but just increasing the number of individuals, so that you can see those evolution of different types of swarms that increases. In particular, in the large swarms, so this is the size of the swarm, so that you can see this is a computation of susceptibility. It's a kind of fluctuations within the swarm, and then small swarms that you have a head direction is fluctuating, but in the larger swarms you have the density fluctuations within the swarms, and then susceptibility is a reaction towards the external perturbation to the swarm. So that if you compute the fluctuations, then you can predict what the response is of these swarms against external perturbations. So that is the interesting discovery of this. Then with Rana, that we also were interested in with Rana and Atsushi Masumori, that what about Gachi cell automata? Because the Gachi cell automata is the interesting realization of this model. As you may know, that the game of life with octameta pixel is by Bryce in 2005, that he can simulate the huge the game of life by the game of life itself. So each cell now becomes 2048 versus 2048 pixels, and each state changing needs 3,500 3 to 8 steps. So that's what this self-simulating cell automata. So there's a bunch of classes of cell automata that can simulate itself by scaling up. So I thought it was very interesting. So why not this self-simulating cell automata should be used to understand what is life and how this massive data flow actually works. And then the Gachi simulation is actually using self-simulating capability of itself, right? So this is one of the things that when there's a noise, the noise is a red spot, right? And then they try to repairing those those perturbations given by the noise. So this is by the self simulations. So so the self simulations of the cell automata is well known, but the Gachis model is they try to use coarse graining, and each pixel can simulate the larger scale of the system, so that they can self-repairing the self-repairing cell automata is possible. If you're interested, I can go into the detail, but that's what we did in 2013, and started by Alana Sinapin. She's also studied artificial life since then. And then I was interested in not only the what can be simulated in a computer, but how this internet is doing. So this is the packet switching network. It's not it's a simulate the real simulator of internet, that you can have a different time scales that emerges in the packet switching network. And we simulated, we analyzed internet to see whether there is a web default mode network that exists using Twitter or the different type of web services, that we can find some structures emerges spontaneously without doing anything, but because of this communication with the users, and when the population numbers, the size of users is increasing, then the structure emerges spontaneously. And then you can see like the famous creek structure, large creeks emerges in one of the web services. And also when you look into this Twitter, there's a, in terms of the keywords used in the Twitter, then there's a information flow. So we use the transfer entropy to see how the information flows from the keywords of the upper streams and keywords of the lower streams. And then some of them become source and some of them become sink. So that was interesting. I think I'm running out of time. I don't know. So then I was more and more interested in how we can make a large scale models or more complex models, so that we need more complexity to understand what is life and what is consciousness or what is mind, right? So the mind time machine is one of my half art, half science systems, which I studied with Yuta Ogai, was my ex-student. That is, it's kind of video feedback systems. The one camera is taking the images of others, but it's making a network. And there's a huge memories in the internet that storing those images within the internet. But then sometimes it's retrieved from the internet and then projected onto the screen. And all this system is controlled by the spike neural network with a Hebbian plasticity. So it's complex, but I try to use all my knowledges, all my studies before, and try to generate complex systems which controls images by itself. So I put this one in outside of the museum for 4 months. The season changes from the spring to summer, and then the images changes depending on all these slower time scales, and also the Sunday that so many people are coming to the museum, but Monday is closed, so that the amount of human numbers of people coming to the museum changes the way that this mind time machine behaves. So that I thought was interesting, that let machines interact with human and let machine put in the open environment so that you can understand how the machine works, right? Don't put in the closed room. That's what when I learned when I went to this when I built this machine. So this is something that I was recorded. We have the 3 screens and then 11 cameras, the 15 cameras, so taking each other. So it's from the morning to the evening, the pattern changes. And of course, it's accumulating memories. And then of course, the lighting changes so that the appearance it becomes different. And then after 2015, that I was more interested in entire tracking of so many bees and the creatures, so that maybe those individuals with huge number can have a different informations about the life, so that we can update maybe the Darwinian evolution or maybe the theories that we have been making for the collective intelligence. For example, like we have been collaborating with the team, Gene Robinson's group in urban Champaign. He put a QR code on each individual bees, and then taking the videos of how the bees is moving around over in different places. This is the artificial honeybee hive. Then for 5 different seasons, then we see how the bees behaves, so that we can see like this one. So each triangle is corresponding to the bee, and then triangle it's directing towards headings. So you can see that sometimes it becomes busy and sometimes it becomes calm. So temporal transitions from the calm period to the busy time it's kind of spontaneous activity of the beehive. And once when you open up this hive, some bees goes out, and then it's coming back, and then birth it seems like this birthing behavior is used to transfer information among individuals. But also this birth is spontaneous, it can happen. So we measure this for each bee, that we can measure this bursting behaviors and see how this birth is composed. This is description plot of this each bee, and which bee is initiating the birth for each time. And then it looks like the numbers of bees fixed. So there are roles of the bees for these individuals are fixed, that they have to initiate birth. And those bees initiating birth are those who watch the dancing behaviors. And then also the 50% of them came back from the outside. And this one was possible. Then after that, as I explained yesterday in open-ended evolution session, that we started to do this Android thing, so that you can see.
With artificial intelligence so advanced that his creators claim that he has free will. The new humanoid robot interacts with people and moves through an embedded central pattern generator, or CPG, which allows him to express a wide range of different motions. The secret of the CPG is that it's designed to work almost exactly like a human brain. The CPG has its own neural network that mimics human neurons, allowing the robot to create movement patterns of his own, influenced by sensors that detect proximity, temperature, and humidity. The setup isn't quite at the level of creating human-like movement, but it does give the viewer the very strange sensation that this particular robot is somehow alive. Alter the Android is a further demonstration of the progress of artificial intelligence and robotics, and may be similar to the robots that we can expect in the future. If you want to catch Alter before he goes, he is on display for 1 week at Japan's National Science Museum in Tokyo.
So after I made this one with Hiroshi Shiguro from Osaka University, we made a second version and third version. Third version is Alter 3, which we brought into the Barbican Museum in London. So that I explained yesterday, which one of my postdocs that he also programmed this Alter, that he's how the Alter can mimic a human in front of him. This Alter has a camera in his eyes, and then imitate his behaviors. And the behavior is not perfect enough, but there's a bunch of interesting stuff can be studied by using this robot. So after in 2018, I was honored to host Artificial Life conference in Tokyo, and then I invited one of my heroes of this field, which is Ward Brooks, and he said, "Well, we are still missing, and we cannot missing the final piece, and then we cannot make a robot into living systems, so that we call it Brooks juice, right?" And then so maybe the mission of Artificial Life is looking for Brooks juice. So that's what I invited him to him as a keynote to my AI conference in 2018. That he showed us like a funny face in front of this panel. Says, "I want to be alive," and then looking for the Brooks juice. That's what on this panel. So at the end, the question is, did we find Brooks juice? I don't know. I don't think so. It's still, we are looking for it, right? I thought maybe the self movement can be the missing piece, but maybe the massive data flow is the missing piece. We are still using very few data flow. That's why we cannot make a life. Or maybe there's a swarm intelligence, just increasing the numbers of individuals and particles. And then there's a different types of intelligence emerges. That's what I call swarm intelligence or swarm computation. And that may be the final piece. Or maybe we'll have to find a new chaos, which I studied my research career. There was a concept of chaos and very popular, and then people are fascinated with the idea of chaos. So we need a new chaos to go forward. That's what at this moment of Artificial Life. So Artificial Life is not dead yet, and we have to go further on. So that I still think that Artificial Life is larger than biological life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Takashi. So yeah, very exciting talks. So many things, and not so much time for questions. So yeah, if whoever wants to ask something, please use the Q&A thing, and let's take a few minutes. Then I think there is one question from Aitor. Aitor, do you want to, or I will read it out.
Okay.
So
Okay.
why hasn't it been possible to the replicating droplets experiment, to do the replicating droplets experiment in the lab. So why was that impossible?
Well, it's maybe possible. You know, you mean the computer simulations with the droplet, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, well, maybe it's possible. Yeah, I just stopped, doing this, but maybe we should balance between the chemical reaction strength and membrane strength or something that is necessary to do this. But for the moment, I think it's still difficult to have this one. Yeah, but maybe it's possible. Yeah.
So another question from Stavros. Do you think toy models can have a resurgence in the age of big data MDF? So maybe for helping to test. So do you think toy models can come back in the age of massive data flow?
Well, for the narrative, for storytelling, I think it's necessary because the massive data flow cannot understood by us, right? So we need a narration, right? That's, I think, for storytelling, I think it's a toy model is powerful, right? But instead, maybe we can use a deep learning, and deep learning can invent new language for us to understand what's going on there. That's something in the future, I think.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. And a question from Hiroki Sayama. Alan Turing cleverly avoided the Brooks juice kind of question by proposing the Turing test. Could we also take a similar approach for life-likeness?
Well, I'm still ambivalent, right? Turing test is powerful. That's why I'm doing a mutual imitation game with author, right? So one step forward using a Turing test is what about mutual Turing test by the androids, and then how they can be can grow up and can generate mind in themselves. But I still wonder whether there is another missing piece in artificial life. Maybe we have to find some, like Jessica said, maybe the collective or population intelligence is something we still don't understand, or maybe some other things, some other theory of complexity that we still don't know. And that is one of my because of my background in theoretical physics, I still I'm hoping for that we can find something new. So either way, either Turing test, or maybe we should find something new, kind of fundamental principle that we are still missing.
So what's going to be the future like in terms of your research in artificial life? Is it going to be something related to open-endedness? Is it going to be collective intelligence? There are so many threads, maybe more into embodiment, since you're working with Alter 123. So many threads. What's your next thread?
Yeah, that's a very good question, but I don't know. I'm very interested in so many things, so it's so interesting, right? So depending on how we can, if I can find something interesting, I try to amplify that discovery, and I want to go that directions. And for the moment, I can't decide which way that I should go, right? But I still think that the experiment is very interesting, and then the large-scale computer simulation becomes possible because of the computational power. And maybe we can switch from a toy model to the complex model, but still we can do, and we can investigate. We can do simple tests with those massive models. So massive data flow is still with me. Yeah.
Good. All right. Do we still have a little bit of time? Is there a pressing question from the audience? Otherwise, yeah, I think we are at the end of our time here for this session. So I'll pass it on to Yitka.
So I don't have a question. I just want to say really thank you, Takashi, for your great talk, and I am really happy that at this conference where we are celebrating the anniversary of World Robot and RUR, and you have shown your great work and also authors and this. So thank you, and I enjoyed the talk.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations once more. Yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's again, I very much owe to many people, my colleagues, including you, Ichika, right? So very happy to be here, and it's great my honor to get this to receive this award. Yeah, thank you very much.
And for me, it was also the honor to have the chance to work at your laboratory a few years ago. So yeah, it's also thanks to you that I have results as I have, and we have still some unpublished paper together. So
yes,
it's the challenge to finish it now. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much, Takashi, again for a very nice, what is it, story of the adventure of decades of research.
Yeah, but
and
I'm not retiring yet. Yes. So when I was preparing my slide, like a few hours ago, I was feeling like I was going to retire, but still there are a bunch of things that I think I can do. So
we're only giving you the award if you don't retire, right? This is a condition.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you that you made this talk, because to say the story to the others, I said yesterday, I wrote an email to Takashi, are you prepared for your talk tomorrow? And he was like, what talk? I will say just 3 minutes, like, thank you, no? And I was like, no, in the schedule is like 1 hour talk. And then he was like 5 minutes max. And then please. And he prepared this great talk, and thank you. I think we can start this nice tradition that each awardee of Lifetime Achievement Award can show what he or she did. So thank you that you made it.
I know my talk was very massive, but this is like a massive data flow, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you can get how why I took the style. Yes.
It just confirmed that you really deserve it. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you everyone for attending. What is next?
Next is a short break, half an hour, and we will be back at 12:30 in the red room with talks, and in the green room there is the workshop synthetic approaches. So, and here in the blue room we will be back at 3 with the special session artificial perception. So yeah. Thank you all for coming. Takashi, once more, thank you and congratulations, and see you later.
Thank you very much.
And at afternoon, in the closing session, we will have the conference award. So still you can vote for the best paper, best